If you do decide to drink and get behind the wheel, you could end up right here in the back seat of one of these. Or even worse, you could wind up in the back of an ambulance. But tonight, I'm sitting up front, riding along with Sergeant Metzger to get a behind-the-scene look on what state troopers are doing to crack down on drunk driving.
Ready to go?
Let's go.
Micaela, what's the latest?
Good morning, Tina. Well, that's what everyone's wondering. So, Assistant Chief, what is the very latest? We can see the flames are still burning.
Yes.
It's been quite the hassle the last couple of weeks to feel clean in this building. You have to boil hot water on the stove and carry a pan all the way to the bathroom, often making several trips. All of this work just so you don't have to take an ice-cold bath. 13 ABC made multiple calls to the company in St. Louis that manages the building, as well as the local owners. No one was able to answer Sunday, calling from 13 ABC Action News and give an explanation. Bill, I have in my hand here a sketch of the suspect. This was just drawn up and released by police, and right here live on 13 ABC is your first look at it. That's a pile of dead mayflies. These little guys live a short adult life, but as you can see, there's still plenty flying and landing all over Maumee Bay. Lots are on my arms and fingers right now. They've been on my microphone and some even on my face. The car flew off this ledge and landed in Swan Creek below. And now it's a place filled with balloons and candles, left to remember the two men who died here. And many of the guests and volunteers will spend all weekend long sleeping in this tent behind me. I'm told that's where the real life-changing moments happen. Friendships form, and the volunteers remind the guests that they do matter. This was 15-year-old Callie's bedroom, where the candle was lit that sparked the flames. And right above it is 8-year-old Krista's room. You can see her dollhouse was thrown out in the fire. She saw people hopping her fence. That led officers to discover these footprints, eventually allowing them to track down the people of interest. So Christine is one of the car care technicians. She's going to walk me through this process. Christine, what would you say is the most important thing to check for?
Lots of fun for the whole family with interactive activities like face painting and even elephant rides. Bill, it's been a very gloomy, rainy, and windy weekend, especially if you live near Lake Erie.
All of the concern from the community is inspiring the woman who says she is Richard Davis's victim, inspiring her to step forward. And she spoke exclusively tonight with 13 ABC's Micaela Marshall. Micaela.
Lee, Diane, our policy is to not identify sexual assault victims. But in this case, the woman who says she's the one who was raped by Davis when she was 8 years old reached out to us and wanted to share her name, her face, and her story with all of you. She wants to show she's not afraid anymore and hopes she can find closure after years of agony. Stephanie Dominique says she was the 8-year-old girl Richard Davis raped.
I would act like I was sleeping because I was terrified of what would happen if I opened my eyes.
Stephanie says Davis was dating her mother and living with her family at the time. She says she didn't have a bed to sleep in, so she slept on the couch.
I remember being on the couch in a tutu, and I woke up to him, going down on me, as you would say in a term, and sticking his hands inside me. It was really terrifying.
She says Davis raped her multiple times over the span of 1 year.
My body told me it was wrong, but because of what environment I lived in and the things that I saw, I didn't know that it was okay to say anything.
It wasn't until she went to a routine checkup and a doctor noticed something was wrong that she told her mother.
She didn't go straight to the police. She went and found him and tried bringing him back to our home.
Stephanie says she has no relationship with her mother now and was adopted shortly after Davis's conviction.
I hate him for taking away everything that was innocent about me.
She is now 24, raising 2 boys, a 2- and 4-year-old. And you're still deeply affected by this.
Oh, every day. Every day. I can't go somewhere without seeing somebody who even remotely reminds me of him without going in a panic attack.
When Stephanie heard the news that her rapist legally moved in next to Arlington Elementary, she was disgusted.
It doesn't matter to me if he was convicted before 2003. No sex offender ever should be allowed that close to any child.
Stephanie says the neighbors protesting have given her the courage to speak out.
When I was 8, I didn't have that kind of support. If there's any way that this can change, then I'm going to be part of it.
Stephanie decided to come forward and tell her story in large part because of the outpouring of support she's received on social media. She told me she plans to do all she can to prevent her rapist from harming any other child. Lee, Diane. Well, Diane, it's been a long couple of weeks for the Fulton family, and they wanted to make it easier for their son to play outside. So today I talked to the family and the contractor to get to the bottom of what happened. It's Nicholas Fulton's summer of fun. Blue hair, sled hockey, tennis camps, and his favorite,
eating tons of cheese.
Nicholas was born with a severe case of spina bifida and hydrocephalus.
It's something that prevents my legs from working, and it's like my spinal cord's all twisted on the inside of my back.
He will undergo his 14th brain surgery this summer.
He can't have any physical contact with anyone. He's going to be home with us for 4 to 6 weeks. I thought that he could at least access his backyard, and he can't.
I love playing outside.
But this is what it takes right now for Nicholas to go play in his backyard. Nicholas's mom, Christina, just wants him to be independent.
I know for him, not helping him, but being there to support him is the best thing I can do for him.
The Fulton family hired Jacob Lewandowski of Jacob's Ladder Handyman Services in Toledo to build a customized ramp and deck.
Nicholas is going to be able to come out to here, be flat.
I mean, I'm very picky with this stuff, and I've done my research. He had nothing but 5-star reviews.
The Fultons gave Lewandowski a deposit check for $3,000. 2 days later, he cashed it, but then never showed up to do the job.
Text messaged, emailed him. Christina's went to his office yesterday, left a letter. No replies, nothing. He just...
I'm really looking forward to it, and Jacob's just made it harder for us.
It wasn't until 13 ABC called Lewandowski today that he finally answered the Fultons. So why didn't you just call them as soon as you knew that it wasn't going to happen?
Embarrassment. I mean, I should have, and I didn't. So.
And you just ignored them?
I did, and it's embarrassing.
You're saying now you're offering to do the work for free and you're going to give them a full refund tomorrow?
Yes.
So how are you going to come up with $3,000 by tomorrow?
I've sold vehicles.
The family filed a police report and Lewandowski is closing his business. He says he's done with construction work for good. Both sides set tomorrow at 4 p.m. for Lewandowski to give a full cash refund. And we're going to follow up tomorrow. Diane?
Oh, it's cracking. Listen.
That was just moments before the first Toledo police officer fell into the icy pond while trying to rescue a teenage boy.
We have been following the story since it happened last Friday, and tonight 13 ABC's Micaela Marshall walks us through the newly released body cam footage of one of the officers who fell in the frigid water, and it's compelling. Micaela.
It sure is, Diane. What you're about to see is Officer Thomas Killen's experience while trying to rescue 17-year-old David Lewis from an icy pond in North Toledo. Take a look. This is the moment before an urgent rescue takes a terrifying turn.
Oh, it's cracking. Listen.
Threw it to the boy, and it fell just short. And he had been in the water so long, he had no strength. So the bag started blowing. I had no choice but to retrieve it.
We see Officer Thomas Killen's body camera turn away for just a moment. Officer O'Connell falls in, and he's still a few feet away from the teen. So now the mission becomes riskier. How to rescue them both? In comes Officer Greg Zizmansky. He's carefully walking out on the ice, approaching Officer O'Connell. Officer Killen then shouts a warning.
It's like you can hear it cracking.
Officer Zizmansky reaches for Officer O'Connell's hand.
Get it out of here. Brian, show me the water. Show me the line, Brian.
Officer Zizmansky grabs onto the rope and tries to pull him out. Then Officer Killen steps in.
Hey, hold the rope. Hold the rope. Hold the rope, Brian. Yeah. Hold on to the rope, Brian. Good. Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
Before long, Officer Killen is now in the ice-cold water, too. They struggle to climb out.
Come on. Come on.
Officers Zizmansky and Officer Gary Bunting help pull the pair to shore. Meanwhile, the teenager has been in the water for nearly 20 minutes, holding on to ice to stay afloat.
Probably the scariest moment of your life.
Yeah. All my gratitude goes to the police and everything.
It was actually one of the most single terrifying events I've ever had on this job. Watching two officers struggling, hearing the panic in the child's voice at the same time. It was a hair-raising experience all around.
Truly remarkable footage. That last officer you heard from, Gary Bunting, he fell in to about his knees in the water during the rescue. And after he got the other officers to shore, he was part of the crew that ended up saving the teen's life. Luckily, everyone's okay here, but of course, this serves as a great reminder. No ice, is safe ice. Reporting live, Micaela Marshall, 13 ABC Action News.
Incredibly harrowing ordeal. Micaela, thank you very much. And with
Good evening. We are starting tonight with a brutal beating in what police believe is a random attack. A 16-year-old was hit in the head with a metal baseball bat while walking along Main Street in Toledo. His injuries are critical, his family devastated. The mother of the teen is speaking out in an interview you will only see on 13 ABC, and Micaela Marshall talked with her tonight. Micaela.
Bill, 16-year-old Marcus Bailey was just playing ball in the neighborhood park with his friends when a group of unknown suspects jumped him for no reason, beating him with his own metal bat. 16-year-old Marcus Bailey is described as a quiet boy who loves computers and graphic design. He's a sophomore at TTA. His mother, Shelley, says she is selective of who her son hangs around with.
You're good kids or you don't hang out with my child. You know, like I said, I'm the type, I don't like them walking to the carryout by themselves. You're in groups if you go at all.
A walk from the park back to his friend's house on Main Street in East Toledo soon turned violent just before 8 p.m. Saturday. Marcus was carrying a metal baseball bat when an unknown group of guys approached the kids. Marcus and his friends started to run.
When my son started to run, they grabbed the baseball bat out of his hand and they smacked him in the back of his head with the metal baseball bat so hard that he fell on his face.
The suspects fled before police arrived, investigators calling this a random attack. Marcus is unresponsive and in a coma.
He had severe bleeding and swelling of the brain. They had to remove part of his skull. Without surgery, he would have died.
Doctors tell Shelley the prognosis isn't good. He will be in the hospital for weeks, likely go to rehab after that, and the extent of damage done to his brain could take a long time to find out.
Some monsters decided to terrorize kids because that's what these are as kids. And now my son is fighting for his life because some monster decided it'd be fun to smack a kid in the head with a baseball bat. I talk to him. I hope he hears me. I tell him to fight. Like I said, he's fought since the day he was born.
Shelley told 13 ABC her son's life has been a struggle from the start since he was born premature. She's praying for his recovery and that those responsible are caught.
We beat the odds once. He can beat the odds again.
Police are still searching for the suspects and investigating the attack. If you have any information, contact Toledo Police. Reporting live, Micaela Marshall, 13 ABC Action News.